the best power forward from every NBA team. I got a ton of new video ideas coming up, but I've also started a lot of ideas I haven't finished yet, so I'm going ahead and finishing the rankings from every position for the year. Make sure you subscribe now though so you can stay tuned for the new videos coming up, but for now here's number 30, Kelly Olynyk from the Heat. He's not a starter, but he's Miami's best power forward right now. 29 goes to Dario Saric from the Suns, and at this point it looks like Saric just isn't going to be the player people thought he would. 28, the Hornets with PJ Washington. Next. 27 goes to the Nets for Taurean Prince. Power forward clearly isn't his natural position, but it's the opportunity he was given. He'll be a good role player when his team's healthy, but it doesn't look like much more. The Spurs take 26 for Rudy Gay, and there's nothing exciting here. For the past 3 years, Rudy's been playing as good as he is this year, and he's been in the exact same role. Then Rui Hachimura takes 25 for the Wizards, and this man's one of the very few things Wizards fans have to be excited about. He hasn't been talked about too much, but he's shown a lot of potential early on. 24 goes to Marvin Bagley and the Kings, and I wanted this to be Bagley's year, and I wanted to rank him higher, but he's been injured most of the season, and hasn't played enough games to earn a starting spot or prove that he's any better than he was last year. The Kings still have very high hopes for him, but as of right now, we can't assume that he's any better than last season. 23, the Magic and Eric Gordon. Now, I've officially given up on Gordon. Honestly, I've never been a fan of his playstyle and wasn't confident he'd ever be able to make it to that next level, but I still had hope. And now I think we can all accept the fact that it's probably just not going to happen. Good role player, but definitely underperforming for a former 4th overall pick. Then there's PJ Tucker at 22 for the Rockets, who you always know what you're going to get from him. Great defense, 3-point shooting, and the most effort on the court every single night. He's a great fit and one of the better role players in the league, but still 6'5" at power forward. I've always felt that the Rockets would be much better off with him at small forward and a true power forward that could shoot at the 4, but they've still always stuck with him. Someone who won't be an undersized power forward though is 21 in Zion Williamson for the Pelicans. I get that little baby Zion, who had to learn how to walk, hasn't played a game yet as of the making of this video, so it was tricky to rank him. When he does play though, and if he stays healthy, I'd expect him to be right around a 20-point per game kind of scorer, and later in the season if he comes out and does that, he could definitely be approaching the top 10 power forwards. But again, since he hasn't played, this is where I think he'd end up in a worst case scenario. But speaking of worst case scenario, that seems to be what this year has been for Lauri Markkanen at 20 for the Bulls. I mean, I don't know what was going on with him to start the year. He's been one of the young players who was thought to have some of the most potential, averaged 18 and 9 last season, but came out this season looking like a different player. He's slowly starting to turn things back around, but still isn't always consistent, and a start like this isn't a great sign for his future. And the entire Bulls team still isn't great. But hopefully once they get a new coach, things will change. On the other hand, the Nuggets still have been great, and 19 belongs to them for Paul Millsap. Even though Paul's not a fantastic player, he's still a leader and a guy any team would be happy to have. Plus he's playing limited minutes this year, but has been extremely efficient shooting wise while doing so. Someone not always so efficient plays for the Blazers, in Carmelo Anthony at 18. And yeah, Melo's finally accepted a role as a third option on the Blazers, and his game is just as good as it was when he left. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely not his fault that the Blazers are still bad, but he's still a ball stopper on offense. I just thought once he came back, maybe he'd come back playing a different style too, but I guess that was too much to ask. The majority of his offensive game still comes from standing back until he gets the ball, then once he does, he takes the defender on one-on-one, while his teammates sit back and watch. He's averaging 1 assist a game this year and still has some pretty bad shooting nights, but I guess it's clear that's the only style he knows how to play. I'm not trying to knock him too much though. The Blazers did need another scorer, and that's exactly what they got. I just want to see him do a little more than just play ISO, and if he does, he could rank a lot higher. 17 goes to the Grizzlies for Jaren Jackson Jr., who's currently averaging 17 a game and was a star on defense last year. Not as much this year though. If he was, he'd rank a lot higher. And don't get me wrong, he's still a good defender, but as his offensive game has gotten better this season, his defense did the opposite. It's not terrible though, because now we've seen that he has potential on both ends. You just gotta learn to excel in both every night. 16, the Thunder and Danilo Gallinari. I think it's safe to say Gallinari's been an extremely underrated role player. mainly because he gets injured too much. But when healthy, 4 out of the past 5 seasons, he's averaged nearly 20 points a game on almost 40% from 3. Next year, he said he wants to play for a contender, and that's when we'll get to see what he's really made of. We also need to hurry up and get Robert Covington on a playoff team, because he's the 15th highest ranked power forward for the Timberwolves. And overall, Robert's one of the best defenders in the league, and even though he only averages 12 points a game, it was an easy choice to rank him here over guys like Melo and Danilo, who aren't known for their defense. And like I said, he's another guy we really need to start seeing on a contending team, since the Wolves still clearly aren't one. The Pacers are though, and Domantas Sabonis helps with that, and he comes in at 14. And as expected, he's having a breakout year in his first year as a starter, averaging 17 and 13 on 50% shooting. He's one of the very few big men left that just doesn't shoot threes, and also one of the very few big men that has made it work. Hopefully he can develop a shot throughout his career though, because without one, he won't always fit in on every team. 13. John Collins for the Hawks. When not failing a drug test, Collins is without a doubt one of the best true power forwards in the NBA, and easily a future all-star when he gets a little better from mid-range and 3, because he's already one of the best finishers at the rim. Now I don't know that he'll ever be a superstar or anything, but he definitely makes for the perfect second option. Number 12, the Knicks and Julius Randle. And he ranks ahead of John Collins because of how complete his game has gotten recently. After coming off the bench half of last season and averaging 21 a game though, I did think for the Knicks Julius would have come out averaging much better numbers this year, but he's averaging nearly the same, putting up 19 and 9 a night. It's alright though, because his game away from the stats has gotten a lot better. He's become a player that can score from 3, off the dribble, in the post, rebound, and defend. But sadly, he's on a 3-year deal for the Knicks. Another good player still on a bad team is Kevin Love for the Cavs at 11, who would rank higher on a contender, but until then, I've still got nothing to say about him. And now we're finally into the top 10, where we're going to compare players' rankings to what I had them ranked last year in 2019's power forward rankings. Not everyone has a ranking to compare though, because some players didn't play power forward last year. Number 10, Draymond Green for the Warriors, who took a huge drop from last season's ranking. I mean, we know what kind of player Draymond can be, we've seen how good he's been in the playoffs, and why he ranked in at number 4 last season, but he drops to 10 this year because he's proving that he's just a very good third option, or even a great role player. I mean, it's him and D'Angelo this season, and D'Angelo's stepping up, while Draymond's averaging the same numbers he always has, and isn't stepping up and leading the team like he should be. Number 9, Montrezl Harrell for the Clippers, one half of the best bench duo in the league. He didn't get ranked last year because I only ranked starters, which was a mistake, but I had to put him in the top 10 now. And he's this good off the bench. I'm thinking he's going to be a guy like Sabonis, where when he gets a chance to start, he'll be that much better and will get ranked that much higher. Someone who should maybe try coming off the bench like Harrell is Al Horford at 8 for the 76ers. He played center last season for Boston, but transitioned to a power forward to play in Philly alongside Joel Embiid. And I say he should come off the bench because he's recently come out and said he isn't happy with his role on the team right now, and doesn't feel like he's able to contribute as much as he knows he can. And with how much talent Philly has in the starting lineup, and with how little floor spacing they have, I think it'd be a good idea to try and let him lead the second unit. That way he'll make their bench better, and will get as many scoring opportunities as he wants. Either way though, he ranks here for how good he is as an all-around player. Number 7, the Mavs and Kristaps Porzingis. He's taken a pretty big drop from the number 5 spot he would have ranked last season if healthy, but even down to number 7 isn't too bad considering his situation. He's in his first season after missing an entire year, on a new team with a completely different system, playing with a potential MVP, and under a new head coach all at once. Just as good on defense, but is still learning to play the new style Carlisle and the Mavs want from him, alongside learning to be a true second option. And so far, he's doing a pretty good job of it. Number 6 is also doing a great job on their new team in Bojan Bogdanovic for the Jazz. I mean, Utah plays 3 small forwards, Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles, and Bojan. I already put Ingles in the small forward video, so we're going with Bojan on this one, who also doesn't have a ranking to compare to from last year. But this man's one of, I'll say it, he's the most underrated player in the NBA. He's great on defense, is averaging 20 a game right now, and is shooting 43% from 3. And he's the ultimate team player that's given the Jazz a completely different look, and I'm convinced if he was the best player on a team, he could be an all-star. Then the Pistons take number 5 for Blake Griffin. And after having the best season of his career last year and ranking in as the second best power forward in the league, he's right in the middle of the worst season of his career, but still ranks as a top 5 power forward because he played through his knee injury last year in the playoffs, came back late this year because of it, and is still dealing with some soreness from day to day. So we're gonna hope that everything going on with him is just because of his knee and that he'll start to be himself again pretty soon. Then number 4 goes to the Celtics for Jason Tatum. Honestly, this ranking seems a little too high for Tatum, but due to the fact that guys like Horford, Kristaps, and Blake, who I usually wouldn't rank below Tatum, are having bad years, Jason benefits from it and ranks ahead of them. And he doesn't have a ranking to compare to from last year because he played small forward. But honestly, either way, he's playing great this year. Him and Jaylen Brown have really become a 1-2 punch as second options behind Kemba, and they've really come into their own and shown the type of development we wanted to see from them the past couple of seasons. I'm just looking for Tatum to be a little more aggressive driving to the basket because his game mainly consists of jump shots. Pascal Siakam also obviously has improved his game and is leading the Raptors and comes in at number 3 for them. He was ranked 9 last season and moved up 6 spots in 1 year to the top 3 now. And there were questions early on if he could keep up this pace, averaging 25 and 8 all year long, and he's been doing it while putting up 40% from 3 and leading the Raptors to one of the best records in the league. Even though he's been dealing with some injuries, he'll definitely be an all-star this year, and he's successfully made his name as a top player in the NBA. Number 2, the Lakers and Anthony Davis. Davis played center last year, but this season he's been back to his natural position, and he couldn't possibly be any more of a better fit with LeBron. Right now at this point, he's definitely a frontrunner for defensive player, and he's also leading the Lakers in scoring with 27 a game. Davis is clearly the second best power forward in the league, and would also put up a good argument for the number 1 spot too. But he definitely doesn't take it because it belongs to Giannis, who took the number 1 spot last year too, of course, and just like every year, he's still getting better, averaging 30, 13, and 5 on 33% from 3, and is leading his team to the best record in the league again. I mean, you can make the argument for Davis being the better overall player, but I'm still definitely taking the former and potential 2-time MVP any day. I will say the top 10 for this video was much harder to come up with than it was for the other positions, based on where a lot of players are currently in their careers. If you think I got it all right though, definitely comment down below and let me know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you next video.